And welcome back to another episode of K Let's Scope. Hello, and welcome to K Let's Scope. Hello, and welcome back to K Let's Scope. And welcome back to K Let's Scope. Hello, and welcome to the 7th episode of K Let's Scope. Today we have Adam Bear and Reva Jamdar, and we are going to be delving into the world of astrology. And we're going to get Adam's and Reva's opinions of astrology. We're going to talk about the background of astrology, the nuances behind it, horoscopes, the whole 9 yards. So I'm excited to have you guys on today. How's it going? How was your spring break?
I'm doing okay. Thank you for having me.
Oh yeah, no worries. Reva, what about you?
My spring break has been good. I've been staying home, and Adam and I are really excited to talk about astrology today.
Okay. So before we begin, Reva, do you want to give us a little bit of a breakdown of what astrology is?
Yeah, so in simpler terms, astrology is basically the belief that the alignment of planets and stars at the time and location of your birth determines who you are as a person and your personality and just everything about you.
Okay. So what is your opinion of astrology?
So Adam will definitely, I'm sure, go into how astrology cannot be scientifically proven, and I agree with that completely. Astrology can't be scientifically proven. However, I do believe that the system has its own type of logic, and in this way, I consider astrology as a cultural and psychological phenomenon. Detailed horoscopes that could be daily or just predict the future almost based on the planet placements express really complex ideas about who you are as a person. And I obviously find that, not obviously, but I find that very appealing. Um, and this being said, I consider astrology as a type of metaphorical language. And as I mentioned in the article that we wrote on the website, it's a language that speaks to the seasons of life. Now, I'm sure Adam will go into how horoscopes are inaccurate or too general for their taste, but I simply do not agree with that. When I read my horoscope, whether it's daily or just for the future, I never truly expect them to be 100% accurate. It's just you go with the flow. One's horoscope will never be accurate unless you're willing to work with it. In my opinion, astrology offers those in crisis a safe place. When I feel very uneasy about the future and I can't really predict what's going to happen next, I read my horoscope. And I don't know why, but I find that very reassuring and really appealing because when I feel upset, I just go and if I do see something that in my future that's good, I see that I'm on the right path and that I'm doing something at least good in my life. But if I see my horoscope that my future is not that good, if I read a horoscope that says that my future is bad or something in my future in my life down the road is going to turn out bad, a relationship is going to fall apart, my life will maybe fall apart, I know that I have to work better right now in the present, and I have to do certain things to possibly become a better person so I can change that horoscope and I can change my future, if that makes sense. And what I also mentioned that I really like this line, it's like flipping ahead in my own story and looking to the stars and planets for answers. And that's why I really find astrology very appealing.
So before we go any further, I just wanted to mention that today's podcast is based on Adam's and Reva's op-ed. It's called Two Takes on Astrology and Horoscopes from February 18th, and it goes into their opinions and their beliefs as to what astrology means. So I am going to put that in the description below, and you guys should check it out for sure. And now moving on to Adam, what is your take on astrology?
So I don't believe in astrology, and I have trouble buying into it just because I I the way I think is often just based in logic and that sort of thing. So it's just the logic of astrology and horoscopes just doesn't make sense to me, especially considering constellations. They don't That logic doesn't make sense to me just because a constellation is a collection of stars that doesn't actually have any association with each other. It's just from our perspective here on Earth. So that's the first thing I think, the position of stars that don't actually connect, like have any connection to each other other than what we see, doesn't really make sense to me that that would affect who you are as a person. The same thing with planets, even though planets are a little more tangible because they actually exist.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I don't really have an issue with people who believe in astrology. I think it's, I definitely view it as like fun, it's entertainment, it's something to, make you feel better or just like to entertain you. But I just have trouble believing it because the idea that like celestial bodies have like any effect on the way you are as a person or the way your brain functions just doesn't line up with the way I think, and also just what we know, especially what we know about like personalities and psychology and personality development. It just doesn't. And since I sort of the way I think is very rooted in that, I have trouble believing in astrology.
So one thing that really stood out to me when Reva was talking was about how she was mentioning how you find hope in your horoscopes or reading them every day. You find some kind of a comfort in knowing that your future may be predetermined.
Hmm.
In that same way, how do you feel about like how a lot of people mention religion and how religion can't be scientifically proven, but people still believe in it. People still find hope and comfort in believing in a religion. Do you think that that's kind of similar to the whole argument about horoscopes and uh, astrology in general?
Um, I definitely think that is a similar argument, and I basically have the same opinion about it. I'm not a religious person, but I do understand how religion can bring people hope and sort of give them something to believe in. But because the way I just think about things, it's just hard for me to believe because I really operate on logic and sort of, I guess, rules essentially.
Gotcha. Reva, you have anything to add to that?
I have something to add to the points that Adam was originally making with his original argument. I respect Adam's opinion completely because he was very calm when stating his opinion. And the issue that I have with people who do oppose astrology, they don't have anything to back it up, and they really ridicule me to no end for believing in something like astrology because they think it's pointless, which I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that people who go out of their way to sort of bash people for liking astrology, I don't think that's cool, but I also arguing that their arguments are bad because they have nothing to back it up, I don't think is the best stance for you to take, just because astrology doesn't have much to back it up either. But I do agree with you in general that like it people like bashing you for that is not it's just kind of pointless.
Right. Well, the whole thing is we have to be open-minded as a society, and we have to take into consideration other people's opinions and beliefs. That's pretty simple.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you guys want to move on to birth signs and stuff? Talk a little bit about. So I was born in May, so I'm a Taurus. Um, Adam, what are you?
I'm an Aquarius because I was born in February.
And Rabo, what about you?
I'm a Libra because I was born in October.
So tell us a little bit about how being a Libra has affected you as a person and as an individual.
Well, should I just go into what a birth chart is? It sort of
Oh yeah, sure. Go
talks.
ahead. Yeah.
So a birth chart is basically the placement of the moon and other planets at the time and location of your birth, and that essentially crafts your birth chart. So as a Libra, you are born, if you were born between September 23rd and October 22nd, my birthday is October 21st. So therefore, I fall under the Libra sign. And I guess I can go into the characteristics of a Libra. I don't know if Adam knows what it's like the characteristics of being
I
an
don't
Aquarius.
really, but I would love to find out.
Yeah, so a Libra is considered the social butterfly of the zodiac signs. And I pride myself on this because I would say that I'm a pretty social person. Um, and as I was saying, my horoscopes are or the characteristics of my sign, they are very accurate because I'm an indecisive person. I'm pretty social, and I just love harmony. That's,
I have something to say about that because so you said some of the traits were social, indecisive, and you like harmony.
yeah, Libras are,
Yeah, I was just checking before I say anything. So the first one, liking harmony, I don't really know anybody who likes discord or like things not being in harmony. I think generally most people like being in like things being in harmony. Um, so I don't know how much like it's traits like those that often I find it's like that could apply to anyone. And then I think socially, I mean, not obviously not everyone's a social butterfly, and a lot of people have social issues, like issues, or just aren't particularly social people. But I just think there are many social people who aren't Libras, so it's almost I feel like you could tell that to someone who isn't a Libra, and they'd be like, "Oh, that's me," when their sign necessarily isn't. And then what was the third one? Oh, indecisive. I also think that's a trait that just doesn't to me seem like I'm really indecisive. I'm not a Libra, so it's a thing like that's like it's a trait that I don't see as being exclusive. And I don't think the correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if the zodiac it means like if you're not a Libra, you're not indecisive. Like that's not what it means, right?
So it's not.
Like you could
Are you
be,
asking if it's not exclusive, like to
yeah,
that
I'm
one
asking
birth
you
month?
can be indecisive and not a Libra. Like it's not an exclusive trait, right?
Right. Basically, what I was just saying is that I don't. It's a popping personality trait almost. Like when you picture a Libra, you see those three traits. And I do understand your argument, but you can continue. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I was just checking because I don't know, I just feel that a lot of these traits apply to a lot of people that are not just Libras, but then so then you and I that's one of my issues with, especially the personality traits part of it, is that I feel like a lot of them are either general traits or traits that traits to apply to everyone or traits that apply to a lot of people. So if you tell them to Libras, like a certain amount of Libras will be like, oh yeah, I'm definitely a social butterfly. And some of them will be like, well, I'm not, but that's okay. But you could tell that to a different group of people, like a group of Aquariuses, and I think you would have a similar result. So that's just what I think about that.
So just to say something about that, I'm a Taurus. Tauruses are known to be very lazy and very not motivated to do anything, and I don't really feel like I belong to that group. But then people make the argument that because I was like at the end or like the transitional period between Taurus and what's the one after?
You're maybe Cancer. I'm pretty sure, or Gemini. Gemini.
Okay, yeah. So people make the argument that because I'm like at the cutoff point between Taurus and Gemini, that like maybe that's why I don't like associate very well with the Tauruses, but I don't think I associate with Geminis either because I'm pretty sure Geminis are like very two-sided people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what are the you're listing the weaknesses. What are the strengths of being a Taurus and a
Oh, I don't
Gemini?
know. I just know like that a lot of people that when they hear Taurus they hear like lazy, but I don't
Yeah,
agree.
I feel like a lot of times the with the personality traits, I feel that if they don't match up with you, if you don't match up with your sign, there's just a lot of I don't want to call them loopholes, but that's kind of what they feel like to me, where sort of there's different reasons in the, like you said, the logic of astrology why you wouldn't match up with your sign. Which on the one hand is like, oh, that's because it's a nuanced system. On the other hand, it's like that's sort of almost like to ensure that in some way everybody matches up. I don't know. But I had a question for Reba. So, because I'm an Aquarius and I've asked, because I've never really searched out online about like what my traits are, but I've like asked people and I've gotten really mixed, like very varied like traits. Like some people said that Aquariuses are like cold, and some people said they're really creative and like warm. I don't know. So I was just wondering what if you know, or I can also look at it and we can discuss because I don't
Let me.
really.
Okay, because I'm actually, fun fact, we can also go into this because birth chart basically talks about your sun sign, which is your main sign, your zodiac sign, and then your moon and your rising sign. My rising sign is an Aquarius. So,
Oh yeah, I would like to talk about that too, but let's talk about the
yeah,
Aquarius
let
for
me
first.
Here I can look it up too.
Yeah, I
So
actually have.
in terms of Taurians, that's what they're called. Their pros are that they're lovable and will make you feel safe and protected. Maybe. I don't know. I don't think I've
you
reached that point in my life yet where I know that.
But also, I feel like with something like that, it's another thing. I think everyone would like to be lovable. I think everyone wants to be like loved. That's pretty universal. So like, even if a Taurus who like doesn't feel lovable, they might sort of, I don't know, it might appeal to them still because even though they don't necessarily feel lovable, they connect with that because they want, because I feel like it's kind of a universal want to feel loved and lovable.
Right.
Can I say
Yeah, go
that?
ahead.
So as I was saying, I mean, Adam, I think that's your whole like argument, obviously, looking into it. But as a person who follows astrology all the time, really, one's horoscope will never be accurate unless you're willing to work with it. So I'm willing to work with it. I don't know if you are, but I don't really delve into it that much. And that's why I see the similarities between my zodiac sign and just me as a person.
Well, but that's the thing because then it's sort of, it's almost, I don't know, but it's almost an oxymoron because you're saying, well, it only works if you like are willing to make it work almost. Like it only works, like you only match up with your sign if you believe you do. And then suddenly it's like, well, then you believe you match up with your sign because you believe you match up with your sign. Because you do know what I mean?
So I think what you're trying to say is like that like Raven's argument is that you have to work with your sign. So in a way, you're kind of manipulating your life to try and work with that like horoscope, and like make
Yeah,
your
or not even manipulating your life, but like if you're willing to work with it. So, if one of the traits is like, oh, you're frugal, since you're told to work with it, you think of the times when you've like saved money, and it's not necessarily a personality trait of yours, but you pick up on those specific times. Let's just as an example, I don't know, but and then you sort of you're like, oh, I am frugal because I've saved money at certain points that I can recall. So I feel like maybe it's a case of like confirmation bias. I don't know if that's the right. But I just feel like saying like it only works if you're willing to work with it is it kind of it doesn't exactly make it work because now you're sort of manipulating it and manipulating the way you're thinking about it just so that it works. Not necessarily your life, but
so just to backstep over back to Aquariuses and their traits. Aquariuses will surprise you with their constant stream of unique thoughts. They're always up for trying new things, whether it's at a restaurant or club. When you're seeing an Aquarius, you'll always feel comfortable and at ease. That's those are the pros for Aquariuses. How do you feel with what the traits are?
I mean, I think they somewhat describe me, but it's the same thing where like, what were they again?
So they'll surprise you with their constant stream of unique thoughts. That was one of them. Then they're always up for trying new things, and you'll always feel comfortable and at ease when you're with an Aquarius.
So people definitely don't always feel comfortable around me. But I think the constant stream of unique thoughts, I think everybody thinks their thoughts are unique. Right? I mean, because I could say, oh yeah, that describes me, but I think a lot of people would say that even if like they were told, you're a Libra and this is the trait, even though it isn't. I feel like a lot of people would think that because, first of all, everyone's constantly thinking. That's just, and then I feel like everyone views their thoughts as somewhat unique and, original because they truly came up with them themselves, even if it's not completely original. Because, like, I don't think any thought really is completely original. It's all based on everything you've experienced. So I don't know how much that one, like, it could describe me, but I feel like it could describe everyone if you're introspecting. And then, always willing to try new things. I just don't think really describes me.
Okay, so that's fair.
Just not. But I don't know. And then, because I'm looking at this website with negative traits, and it's saying impulsiveness, unpredictability, inconsistency, and then there's more. But I definitely don't think those describe me. I hope that those don't describe me. But but I also think like when you look on websites or you ask people, I don't know if it's for every sign, but I definitely think for Aquarius is like it always differs. And that also makes me feel like, well, it's definitely not a uniform science, which makes sense because it's just not very methodical, I think, in the way, because so then people's opinions can differ because it is kind of opinion based, but then it adds to sort of my trouble believing in it because then you can be told one thing, but then told another, and it's just the inconsistency is also something that I have an issue with. That sort of stops me.
All right, so do you want to move into the discussion of our birth charts real quick? See.
For sure.
Okay, sounds good. So whose are we going through first?
Well, first, should I explain the sun signs, moon, and
Oh
Oh
rising?
yeah,
yes,
go ahead,
I really
please.
want to know because I have no idea what that means.
Okay, so the sun sign, basically your zodiac sign. So I would say, Sophion, your sun sign is a Taurus. Adam, sun sign is Aquarius. That considers only the position of the sun at the time and location of your birth. Hence,
Oh
sun
yeah,
sign.
and isn't it? It's like your zodiac sign is like the constellation that's across from the sun at the time of your birth.
Yeah,
That's what I thought. Okay.
yeah. So the sun sign represents your core identity and your individuality. So who you think of yourself as, or your personality. Now, the moon sign, I don't know what your moon sign is, but we'll see that later. It represents your inner self and how you are at home, and how you really feel. And it expresses, I would say, your true self, but mainly when you're at ease, when you're at home. That's the main description.
So how is the moon sign determined?
You mean in the birth chart, or
Yeah, like based on your birth. What's the like? How is it determined? Yeah.
the position of the moon at the time and location of your birth as
That
well?
makes sense.
Yeah. And then the rising sign is how you appear to others and how you're perceived. So my rising sign is an Aquarius, so people would see me basically as you, and that's how I'm perceived. I'm perceived to other people as an Aquarius.
Okay, so sun sign is a position of the sun at your birth, and that is your individuality. Your rising
Mhm.
sign is the how you're perceived by others in society. And then what was the other one? The moon sign,
Yeah,
and that is how you are with yourself when you're by yourself.
yeah.
Okay.
So how is a rising sign determined? Because that name doesn't really give me
That
it.
that we can go into. I know it's one second. I think. Okay. So ascendant is Aquarius. I don't actually know what that means.
Okay.
I
Yeah. Here, so do whose birth chart do we want to do first?
We go over Adams first, because Reva can
Sure.
go over it and explain it.
Okay. So let's look at mine. I am an Aquarius rise. Oh no, my sun sign is Aquarius. My moon sign is Taurus. Okay, so it says one of the standout characteristics of those born under the sun sign of Aquarius is their unwillingness to follow the beaten track. With advancement and progress on their minds, they can be in a reverence to old and outdated ways of thinking and doing things. Many Aquarians aim to free themselves of personal and social conditioning. Although open to change in theory, Aquarians can be surprisingly stubborn. Their idealism runs strong, but they can be very fixed in their opinions. Um, so I feel like this somewhat describes me, but I also think some of it is a little like wishy-washy, somewhat like with advancement and progress on their minds. Like I think a lot of people think like that's a big part of what people think about is advancement and progress, because sort of I feel like life is just about it's about progress in many different ways. And I just think also like the sentence open to change in theory, Aquarians can be surprisingly stubborn. It's almost like it's like a vague generality because it can apply to people who are not stubborn and who are stubborn because people are stubborn like, oh yeah, I am stubborn. Then it also says, you're open to change, even though it says in theory, that can still sort of people be like, well, I am open to change, but I guess I can be stubborn. That kind of thing. So it just to me feels like a vague generality.
So that was what moon sign,
That was my sun sign.
sun sign. Okay. So you want to move on to the rising sign now?
Sure. So it says everybody seems to like Libra ascendant natives. Don't think that's. They just come across as nice, pleasant, and fair. I don't think that's true. Look a little closer at their lives, and these nice people may have quite a few problems in their relationships. I also don't think that's true. Yeah, most of this is not. I don't think most of this is accurate. I think it talks a lot about being easygoing and like pretty universally liked, but also being reliant on others. And I don't think any of those things apply to me.
Okay. And now Let's go
Oh,
on
but I
to.
guess that's how people perceive you. I don't think people perceive me like that either.
Wait, that was your rising sign?
Yeah, that was my
Yep, that
rising.
was his rising.
Okay.
So I don't know.
All right,
And
and let's
then
move on to the moon sign now.
so my moon sign's a Taurus. Actually, this is funny.
Oh, your moon sign's
Uh,
a Taurus.
yeah, so I have everyone's sign. Here we go. Yeah, so it says here the moon represents the emotional responses, unconscious predestination, and the self image. Okay, familiarity is important to lunar Taurians. These people are earthly and strong willed. They feel with their senses and are pretty much rooted in their ways. That sentence I don't like. First, they feel with their senses. I think like that's the point of senses, right? Is to feel.
I feel
I
like
don't
you're
I don't know if there's like another meaning to that I'm not picking up, but that's what I'm getting from that. And then also, and I'm pretty much rooted in their ways. I also think everyone is. Everyone has habits that are just like psychologically, everyone has habits that they are rooted in and that is they're difficult to break. And they're not necessarily bad habits or, habits you even pick up on, but just like I just think generally people are pretty rooted in their ways. And because that also it like people change obviously, but I don't know.
Wait, can I say something quickly?
Go ahead.
Yes.
Obviously your argument is that it can apply to everyone, but that means it also applies to you, right? The horoscope applies to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's somewhat. It doesn't. I mean, there are definitely parts that don't apply to me, but my argument is more that I just feel like it could not. It doesn't necessarily apply to everyone, but it could apply to anyone.
Right.
It's,
Okay.
it's a little bit of a distinction. It could apply to anyone, and that means yes, it does apply to me, but it also doesn't make me believe in it because I'm like, well, it could apply to anyone. So just because it applies to me doesn't mean it really accurately reflects me.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
And then there was another one. It says here, building a solid and comfortable home and foundation helps to keeping them feeling safe and content. Also, I think that's literally everyone. Everyone, literally or figuratively, would like a safe and solid home to make them feel safe and content because that's sort of like like if you have a home, once again, figuratively or literally, you generally feel more safe and content. So I don't know. And also it may be just this website that's sort of like this and a little wishy-washy, but that's just a trend I feel like I pick up with all these horoscopes is I just think it's wishy-washy or can apply to everyone or it's contradictory at sometimes like they say this can be an asset or it can be devastating. This sort of it basically it's vague. It just the vagueness and it could just apply to anyone, so therefore yes, it's like whoa, this they really know me based on my you know birth. But you could tell someone who's not these signs that these are your traits, and they would I think also believe it to an extent.
So wait, Reba, do you want to go over your birth chart now? We'll go over your sun, rising, and moon. And then you can tell us. And Adam, I guess you could also judge for the rising. And see how, or if you agree with how, Reba's rising sign represents her in society, and like how
Oh yeah, well,
others.
way back. Actually, I want to ask you: do you think people perceive me the way they said in my rising sign?
Can you read that again? I thought you were reading your moon because usually it's sun, moon, rising.
Yeah, I know. Here I'll find it. Um, it's basically being like charming, and that a lot of people like actually have some problems in their relationships, but they try and sort of smooth everything over. And yeah, that's about it. And somewhat persuasive and excellent mediators. So those were some of the traits they said.
I think that's accurate. I've worked with you. We're in the same English class, Sophian. So I worked with him on an English project before. And what did they say? You were a good. What did it say?
I mean, they said I was persuasive, but also that come across as nice, pleasant, and fair,
I
but
think the
that
persuasive part is kind of. I mean,
what?
just from this podcast, I can kind of feel the persuasive part a little bit. Like you are good at like persuading other people to.
I think that's accurate.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's very.
But I think there are other parts that aren't. Like I don't think I come across as generally nice, calm, and fair.
I think he does. He's a very open person. Are you an extrovert? I can tell you're an extrovert.
I guess so, but I just like I'm not like a bad person, but I don't know if the first thing people think of me is like, oh, he's nice and calm. I don't think.
You're definitely not calm, but you're very nice. As a person who looks at you from the outside and talks to you as a friend, you're a very nice person.
Well, thank you.
All
You're
right, well,
welcome.
we're just complimenting each other now on K Let's Go.
But here, let's cover your. I want to hear about your birth chart.
So, as I said, I'm talking about my sun sign. Libra natives are generally thought to be sociable because we are the social butterflies of the zodiac signs. They have an almost innocent way about them that makes them very approachable. Generally, quite eager to cooperate, Librans spend a lot of their time trying not to rock the boat. That is true. This is something that I'm actually trying to work on. I tend to avoid confrontation when I should be embracing it. But at this time right now, I try not to rock the boat, as they said. In theory, Libras are peace loving. In practice, they can quietly stir up all sorts of trouble with their ways. Because Libras enjoy balance in their lives, they seek the middle ground. As I said earlier, I like peace, I like harmony, and I like there not being any conflict in my life because that would affect basically everything in my life. So I find this very, very accurate. Should I move on to?
Um, yeah, I just because we talked about this a little, but I just feel like nobody really likes conflict in their lives. Like chaos is generally not something that people strive to have. And also the social butterfly, not obviously not everyone's a social butterfly, but I just feel like there's enough people that really are that once again it's like it could apply to not anyone, but a large amount of people.
That's sort of my huge trait, though. I mean, if you talk about, I can't remember Sophion signs like characteristic, like a Taurus characteristic, but I doubt that his main characteristic is a social butterfly. I don't think that is because although Sophion is social, I guess a Libra is much more social than the other signs. You
Yeah,
get
but what I'm saying is if you told Sophion, hey, as a Taurus, you're a social butterfly, would you disagree?
yes.
No, would Sophion if he didn't if I told him your Taurian trait is that you're a social butterfly, or it's one of your traits, and out of the context of this conversation, would you disagree? Would you say no, I'm not a social butterfly?
I would say I'm not a social butterfly, but I am definitely like not an introvert.
Well, there you go. So you might disagree a little bit, but you still have something. You're like, well, I do have friends.
But
You
he's
know,
not a butterfly, which is what he admitted.
but also that term is also really it's subjective. So you don't. I don't know. And let's move on.
Okay.
We already talked about this.
Interesting.
Yeah, we have a
Okay.
lot of stuff to talk about with the rising sign now.
Okay, yeah, I'll move on to the rising sign. I have to find it. Okay. Ascendant is Aquarius. My rising sign is an Aquarius. How unique and original Aquarius rising natives come across. These individuals are just that, individuals, and they won't let you forget that fact. Often turn to you for advice, these natives possess intellectual poise and savvy. Yeah, they often are curious. Anything that involves advancement of the human race holds much appeal. They are flamboyant by nature, but they do like to quietly get a rise out of others. Okay, Aquarius rising people can be a little standoffish while also coming across as humanitarian and kind. That is true. Do you guys think of me as a kind person?
Yes.
Okay, I do. But that sentence, you can be standoffish but nice. That is something that can apply to everyone because
Oh,
you are, like, I, first of all, sorry,
So it's basically the
people are,
range of emotion. So like,
yeah, like, and I feel like everyone is at times not nice, whether they're in a bad mood or they just generally are not nice people, and at times will be nice. Like, it's just, that is the reality of it. I think everyone is at times nice and not nice. I will say, and another one was like, things that advance humanity are very appealing to you. I also think that's kind of appealing to everyone. Like, some people probably are interested in it more than others. I also don't know. I also don't really see that for you, but I also think that's kind of a general statement. Like at some point, I feel like that something in that range, and that sort of in that category, I'd say something in that category has interest almost everyone, has interested almost everyone. And then, wait, read the beginning again, because there were some parts that I felt like did not describe you.
I'm unique and original. I'm an individual.
Okay. So, first of all, I think everyone thinks they're unique and original. That's kind of the reality of it. And also, I don't know how much I perceive you. Like that's like you're not original, but that's not when I think of you. I don't think of, oh, she's so unique and original. You have other traits that I think of you, positive traits, but those aren't the ones that come to mind.
When you think of me, what do you think? Maybe I can find it.
I do think you're really nice, and I think you're intelligent, which are the things that are there. But once again, I feel like that could apply to a lot of people. Like everyone's nice at a certain point, and also generally socially, people try and be nice because it's better to be nice in a, you know, it's better to have people perceive you as nice than not nice. And then I don't know, and because I also feel like the thing with the rising sign is that it's as much it's about people's perception of you, but it is also but it's written for you. Like the person, you're the one reading it and sort of getting stuff out of it, the out of the rising sign, even though it's about other people's opinions of you. So I feel like a lot of it's tailored towards general things that anyone could think of you, and also overwhelmingly positive things and things that people would like to be like. People, I think most people want to be unique and original because everyone feels like an individual, and especially I think in a society, there's a lot of emphasis on individualism. So I don't think that's something that I think most people would like to be perceived that way. So they agree with it, or they're like, oh, I like that. It's appealing. And being perceived as nice. Because even the negative traits, they always come with an upside in the rising section. It's always, you're a little standoffish, but you're nice. You're this, so that's what I think. It almost feels like it's written to appeal to people because people want to be perceived in certain ways.
I think my main thing is everyone is born, like almost everyone in this world is born at like a certain different time, right? Different day, different time of day, different month, right? So why is it that some people have the same sun, moon, and rising?
Oh, you mean like in what way?
So like,
What do you
let's just say like someone. So you say like how horoscopes are very tuned to you, right? They're
Mhm.
very they're crafted for a specific person. But how is it that like some people will have the same sun, moon, and rising? Like, does that mean that are they still two different individuals with two different personalities, or are they very similar people?
I mean like they have like an Aquarius rising, Aquarius moon sign, Aquarius sun sign?
No, I think what I think Superman means is that like two different people could have the same sun, moon, and rising.
Oh yeah, because they have similar personality traits or they come across in similar ways. You know what I mean?
Okay. Does that take away from individuality then? Because if they're similar, if they have the similar personality traits, I'm sorry if this is like a difficult question.
Oh no, it's okay. Not really. I don't think so. I mean that it's just as simple as that. If you have the same, if you share like Adam and I, let's say we had the same rising sign, because you could be an Aquarius rising, even though that's your sun sign. That just means we have similar traits, and that does not take away from individuality because it just doesn't. I don't know. It just
Okay,
doesn't.
yeah. I mean, no, that's perfectly fine. As an
Yeah.
answer. So wait, we didn't talk about your moon sign yet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know what Adam's gonna say. It applies to everyone, but
Well, you know what? I might not necessarily. I haven't heard it yet. Maybe it applies specifically to you, and I'm like, wow,
wow.
it does.
Okay.
But just so far, like, and I'm not just saying it to say it. I really just
No, yeah,
like the
I
ones I
understand.
pick up on. I do think would apply to everyone.
Yeah, okay. Now, my moon sign is a Gemini. Geminis are usually pleasant, witty, and charming people. At home and with family, those are obviously moon signs. However, they can be moody and irritable at times, which is completely true.
Here's the
Um,
thing. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Everyone can be moody and irritable at times.
I understand. I
People
understand.
go through moods. Like that's just a
Yeah,
thing with
yeah,
everyone that feels emotion. Anyway,
yeah.
sorry.
Okay. People with moon in Gemini are always interesting people. They have a finger in every pie, are curious to a fault, and are generally well informed. Nervousness and worry are common traits with this lunar position. This is also very accurate because I get worried quite a lot, and that's just like a huge trait of mine. And that's why I find this just very accurate. And I know I sound annoying because this is accurate, this must be true. But this just applies well, and I'm just connecting the dots here. I'm connecting these traits with who I am as a person, and that's why it just makes sense to me, even though it applies to other people. It could apply to other people, but Adam, what are you gonna say?
Well, no, I mean, I can say the same thing about all the sentences you've read, and so I'm not going to because I just be repeating myself. But I just think because it's the reason, and the reason I keep emphasizing, it could apply to anyone, it could everyone. It's because like it's a big reason why I don't buy into it because I just feel like as much as it's supposed to be like personalized towards you and it's an analysis of your personality, it just feels like I it's hard for me to believe in because it feels like it's actually not personal. It's just people bringing together traits that either apply to a lot of people, apply to everyone, or are just general enough that you can kind of agree with them to create something convincing. And then I'm not convinced by it because that's sort of the way I view it. But also, if you don't see it that way and you see it as like, this is not the, the people who wrote this or whatever, they're not doing that. They're just, I don't know. That's also, I think it's okay, but I can't sort of suspend disbelief, I'll say. I can't really do that when I view it that way because that's the way I see it. Every time all those sentences I read, I'm like, well, this, et cetera, et cetera. Does that make
I
sense?
So I have a question. Is there any sort of scientific research about correlation between a moon sign, a sun sign, a rising sign that like attributes to a very large majority of people that have that sign? So for example, like you said, Gemini moons have like a certain sense of worry. Do you think that a lot of people that have anxiety, do you think that they people that are Gemini rising um are mainly like people that have anxiety, or like the other way around? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't know. It applies to me because I am a very anxious person. So I know it might not apply to Adam though, because I don't know if he's a very anxious person or if he has anxiety. But that means it just applies to me specifically, and
So
that does
yeah,
not.
that's what I'm interested in. I just want to see like I want some kind of scientific research to like correlate between someone's moon sign and how like in a mental disorder or something like that. And I feel like that would really seal the deal. I feel like that might change Adam's opinions too.
But here's the thing, and that's my whole point, is that even if I saw, you know, a study that said, there's a really high correlation between the traits of a Gemini moon sign and people who are a Gemini who their moon sign is a Gemini. Even if I saw that, I wouldn't be convinced because all of these traits, you could also assess the correlation between the Gemini moon sign traits and people with a Taurus moon sign. And I don't know, but I feel like you would have similar results just because they're vague enough. Or, and also, don't have anything else to say. Don't know. You can cut that last part out.
Okay, sounds good.
And I think also, Sophiana, on that point, I might be going against myself, but I don't think the maybe because I have firsthand knowledge about this, I don't think the placement of the moon and the other planets really determines if you have a mental disorder. That I don't agree with.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, and I actually have another thing to say because the scientific study also, I don't know how they would do it because there's a lot of different websites or experts, I guess, who would probably have some differing, not, I guess there are opinions, some differing opinions and traits. Like just looking at different websites, they differ slightly or greatly. So then it's also an issue of, well, which one do you choose and which one do you trust? Because just because astrology isn't objective, it's subjective because different people say different things because it's not uniform. So then that also raises the issue of what are you assessing and how do you choose which traits you assess, etc.
Interesting. That's a good point because yeah, like astrology isn't. You said it isn't objective, so there is a lot of flexibility in definitions, defining different signs and stuff. So yeah, that is a good point. And it probably would be difficult to perform a scientific study because of the subjectivity of astrology.
and that also contributes to why, even if there was a study, I wouldn't be immediately convinced, because I would look into, okay, what traits did they use? How did they find them? And then could it be an issue of where the study is then not objective because they've chosen traits that they think maybe apply to a lot of people, or they chose randomly, but that's not then the study is more objective, but not an accurate portrayal maybe of what the traits really are. So it sort of becomes muddled because of the variation in astrology. I wanted to talk quickly about horoscopes.
Okay, yeah, let's go into horoscopes. All right, so horoscopes. Reva, you said that you read yours every single day, and do you feel like reading your horoscope every day gives you a sense of what you're about to encounter?
I actually don't. I don't know why I said that, but I don't really believe in daily horoscopes at all. I'm sort of a different type of astrology believer because I understand and I agree with some of what Adam says. So I don't read my daily horoscopes daily. You can cut that part out when I said that earlier. But when I do sometimes read my daily horoscopes, I do it just for fun usually, which is a big difference, and it really is different from when I read my horoscopes that would predict the future, because I believe that horoscopes describing the future really they could predict your fate, and our horoscopes obviously can't change our fate, but if it reads something that, as I said earlier, if it predicts something bad or relationship might turn toxic or something like that, they can definitely help you avoid the things that may create havoc in your life.
So I have something to say about that because first of all, I actually didn't realize that there were horoscopes that weren't daily, but it's like a anyway. So I can't really buy into that either, just because you say so. You read, oh, you're gonna have, something bad's gonna happen. So then you go out of your way to avert it, but then you have no way of knowing whether it's actually going to happen. So you can say, well, it was accurate. The bad thing didn't happen because I read it and I averted it, but it could have never happened in the first place. So I think that's an issue of confirmation bias, where if you believe in it and then if you go out of your way to avert the bad thing, and it doesn't happen, it's not necessarily because you averted it. But I also think it can be a useful way to sort of get people to behave differently and maybe think about the way they act, and reflect on themselves. So I think that actually it has some benefit, and also it just gives you a space to like think about the future and reflect on how you're acting. So
And also, sorry, I wanted to clarify that, yeah, Adam, not like future horoscopes. I think I'm also wrong term, but I mean, if you look on different websites, it says what you can expect as a Libra for, I guess, the month of April, what you can expect
okay,
for the month of blah blah blah, you know?
got it. All right.
Mhm.
Because then I also just aside from astrology, I just don't believe in fate. I think that the future isn't predicted, like, or not predicted. The future isn't definite, and it's all based on the decisions we make. Because then I also think if so, the horoscope's confusing me a little, because if you can read it and it says something bad's gonna happen, and then you avert it, and let's say even if the horoscope is accurate, you avert the bad thing, then the horoscope didn't predict the future, and then it becomes because then there's like a conflict there. So that I'm just a little confused about. Or is it more like you're using it so you know that something's approaching so you can prepare for it, but it will still happen? Like you can't change it, but you can sort of change the way you react to it, or
So, yeah, talking about monthly predictions for Libras. Good energy is for the month of April. Good energy is with you for bringing more excitement, pride, and fun to your interactions. You might attract strong and intelligent people into your life, and you tend to put forward a solid effort when it comes to relating in positive, rewarding ways in the month of April. And that may not be completely accurate. That may not determine your fate, obviously, since you don't believe in fate. That just gives me something to look forward to. Like, oh, this gives me a sense of hope. The month of April can be better than the month of March. This is good for me, and it just it puts me in a good mood because I expect maybe good things are happening.
Yeah, I mean, and I like that. I can understand the appeal of that. I was just more confused about the story, but now reading one, I can understand it. It's a little more vague, so it's not like this will happen in your future, but it's like kind of the energy of the
Yeah.
month.
I
Yeah.
mean, fate is such a deep topic in itself. We could have a whole podcast on fate,
That'll be
because
fun.
like the idea of how man has free will, and also how you can change the outcome of your future, even though your fate may be predestined, or if you believe that your fate may be predestined. So that's like a whole thing. And then there's also like scientific like stuff about the string theory, quantum theory that backs it up. So that's a crazy topic. We could definitely talk about that. I'm just not that knowledgeable in it, but it's definitely something that's super interesting.
And then I also wanted to talk really quickly about the like romantic connections because I know there's like certain signs are more compatible.
Right.
So I want to ask, do you believe in that? And well, like, what are your thoughts? I wanted to know.
Hmm. Well, honestly, I've never been in a relationship before. So honestly, I can't base anything off of, oh, I'm a Libra. I would be really good with a Gemini, you know what I mean? Um so I don't actually find that very convincing. That I just go to when I'm looking for fun and if I have a crush or something. Oh, my crush and I would be really good together. But if I was in a relationship, I wouldn't find that very accurate.
Okay, because I was just because I've seen that, and I also I don't know. I mean, I guess because it's just a reflection of the traits and which traits go together. But I just yeah.
I mean,
Anyway,
astrology has taken such a big part in like today's society. Even if you go
Mhm.
on Snapchat and like you click on someone else's profile, if you scroll down, like you can literally see your astrology, like like your compatibility.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
it's crazy, and you can see like what things you'd be like similar at, or like what if you're compatible with another person. It's like so in depth now, and I think it's kind of cool.
That's just really appealing. Yeah, that's just fun.
yeah, and it's definitely cool, and especially with things like that. I like just in general, as much as I've been sort of not attacking, like criticizing astrology, I still do understand the appeal, and I still think it's definitely fun, especially like the romance stuff, or I mean the future stuff. I don't know, but or personality traits and ooh, let's analyze my birth chart, that kind of thing. I definitely understand the fun in it, and I can definitely see, um, yeah, I can definitely see that, but I think sometimes, and I'm definitely, I don't think this is you, Reva, but I think a lot of people take it a little too literally. And I think the better view of it is viewing it as something fun and as entertainment, like a magic show, where you're sort of suspending your disbelief. It's not real, but it's still fun and it's entertainment. And I think sometimes, though, especially because astrology is like a really big thing, people can take it a little too literally, and then it becomes a little not like what people can do whatever they want, but then it becomes then when people sort of let it really dictate their lives, then I think it becomes not an issue, but it's I don't really like that just because it's so like inaccurate in my opinion that then letting it dictate your life is I don't know almost a waste. I feel not that I think you do that, Reba, and I think you definitely more are on the fun side of it.
Yeah, I am. Mhm.
Alrighty, on that note, I think we can conclude. So, before I wrap up, definitely go check out Adam's and Breva's article on the website. I'm gonna have that in the description below. It goes into their opinions a little bit deeper, and it's definitely a good read. So definitely check that out. Also, before I go, definitely check out our Instagram, our YouTube channel, which is obviously great, and yeah. So thank you for joining us today on this episode. Thank you, Adam and Raven, for joining me today. I do appreciate you guys coming out on an 11 a.m. podcast on
Well, thank
a
you for
Monday
having me.
before school starts for after spring break.
It was fun. Thank you.
Yep. Sounds good. All right. So thank you for joining us, viewers. And okay, let's go. Thank you.